Hi, I'm Kiana Ledé. I'm an actress, singer, songwriter. I make R&B music, and R&B music is the thing that inspires everybody.
Good. What made you want to become an advocate for mental health?
Ooh, I wanted to become an advocate for mental health because I know nothing else than to be vulnerable. And I feel like it's easier to get taken advantage of when you are more vulnerable when it comes to mental health. And I feel like a way that I can combat that is by being so open because then I feel like I got my little army and I can support other people that also struggle with their mental health. So, yeah, it just feels more powerful to be able to be open about it and it feels makes you feel less alone.
And sorry, I apologize. I meant to also ask if you could maybe do a quick introduction as well to who you are.
Yeah, of course. How much do you want in it? Just I'm Kiana Lede.
Um, yeah, or if you want to add anything else as well.
Okay. Ready?
And speaking of acting, like what kind of representation did you want your, music and acting to leave like with your female audience?
Ooh. I think I love horror. I'm a big horror fan. And my first job, my first acting job was in a horror show. And I think the representation of having a black, brown female character live for 10 episodes made me feel like I could represent us. So, unfortunately, spoiler alert, they killed me. But I lasted a pretty long time.
And I feel like that's also good because there's not a lot of again representation like black women and brown women on in horror media. But your latest album, Cut Ties, what was the inspiration behind it, the process?
So with Cut Ties, I actually started out with a vision, visually, and it's the first time I ever did that. I know that people have seen like a more raw, not so much makeup, just like kind of a bare version of me for most of my projects. And I think this time I wanted to do something different and really tap into the part of me that loves horror and loves like dark shit. Sorry, dark stuff. So, yeah, I really wanted to tap into that and show people just a different side of me, a deeper side. And there are some crazy things going on in my mind. So I felt like it was time to put them out there and let people know.
And was like horror also the inspiration of it? Because I've seen the album cover, of course, and like it's very like a lot of red.
Yeah, it was horror had a huge part to play in this last project, and it will secretly have a huge part to play in the next project too, while we wrap this chapter up.
And what type of impact were you hoping, for your album Cut Ties to have like upon your, woman audience?
Mm. I wanted to leave a place for women to feel okay with being and feeling, or I guess not even women, people to feel sexy and to feel like it's okay to be a little crazy. I feel like that's kind of what a theme that I've had in my music for sure. But there are little bits and pieces of crazy that we're allowed to take with us. So I want people to feel comfortable with their little bit of crazy listening to the album.
And like describe your style and aesthetic, like how do those things play into your career?
Mm, I mean, like I said, I feel like I'm letting that darker version of me out. I went through a lot of trauma and changes in the last couple years, and I feel like I needed to get some of that out. So it definitely shows in my fashion choices too. Um, Clearly, red, ox blood, and blood play a huge part in my fashion at the moment. This last album, Cut Ties, was kind of the opening to this chapter. So it's showing some lighter colors, but showing that, I'm tied up with a lot of relationships and I'm telling the story of how I'm breaking those generational curses and how I'm breaking free from those relationships that aren't serving me no more and that are traumatic. So that's why the cover of Cut Ties is all strings. I'm totally wrapped up and now I'm gonna be breaking free. The story is always like a year later than what's actually happened typically. So, yeah, I know how the story's going to play out, but I can't wait for everybody else to see.
And what are some things you enjoy about, being an artist, and what are some things you don't enjoy about being an artist?
Ooh, uh, the thing that I enjoy the most about being an artist is being able to express myself, being okay with feeling my feelings, because I have a place to put them, and connecting with people. Those are the things that I love most. The things that I despise is the fake stuff. Like I hate having to be political. I'm not very good at it. I don't have really a filter, and even if I try, you're gonna see it on my face. So it is difficult for somebody like that to try to be a little bit more political. That's the thing that I despise the most. I'm just a like genuinely authentic person, and I don't know how to be no other way. So it's difficult, but I have to remind myself that with all of the people that listen to the music and love the music, and the people that I get to make the music with, it makes it worth it.
And, speaking, of course, about wrapping up chapters and everything, you don't have to get into details about your next project, but is there any themes you're exploring for it, or?
Yeah, this next project is going to be the second and the closing chapter of me cutting all of these ties and being able to express them in the only way I know how at this point.
And I guess before we move on to, Women's History Month, I guess is there anything else you'd like to add about, I guess, your album or, I guess a project maybe you want to bring up that doesn't really get a lot of attention?
Mm. I mean, Cut Ties is an album that I think deserves more attention. It's a great album, and it is the first fully independent album that I've released. So if you want to support a small Black brown business owner, go listen to it.
And how do you encourage, women's empowerment in your music?
Mm. I think just by creating that open space for people to, I always say when people go to my shows, I want them to have twerked and cried. So I just want to always create that space for people, a safe space for people to be completely themselves and be okay with their little bit of crazy and feel sexy and be okay with feeling sad. So yeah, I think that's all I can do is create that safe space for people because it makes people feel more powerful and in control of themselves and their thoughts and their emotions.
And what does women empowerment mean to you?
Mm. Women empowerment to me means supporting other women 1000%. I think it's easy and okay to compare, but only to find inspiration in other women that you respect and that you find powerful. I think jealousy is something that some people have to work hard to fight, and that's okay. That's a trauma-based thing. But as long as you're finding inspiration from other women and supporting them while you're doing that, I think that is women empowerment, true women empowerment.
And Is there a, I guess, a woman figure in your life, I guess anyone personal to you or probably somebody you learned about like in school, has maybe inspired you when it comes to music or anything else?
Mm. I would say my manager, Christine, also my best friend. I really respect her. I think there's in music, there's nobody that knows music, R&B music better than her, honestly. She knows it more than me, and her love for it really makes me and her and our love with each other really makes me want to push myself. She's on top of stuff, so that means I have to be on top of stuff. And when I'm feeling like I'm not really into it because of whatever trauma I've endured from the music industry, she's always pushing. So that makes me want to push for her.
Oh, well, it's so nice. And
Even though she's so sick of me.
and what are some things I guess people should be educated on, other than Women's History Month, maybe should be educated on about women in general?
Ooh, well, I don't think I can say the first thing that came to my mind. But I think the number one thing besides that, the other stuff that I'm sure your imagination could put together, I think that men can understand, straight cis men should be able to understand the trauma that women have endured and understand why women say men are trash. Because yes, it's a generalization, but it is a earned one by straight cis men.
And mm, I guess, is there anything people should know about you?
Hmm. Hmm. I feel like everybody that knows me probably knows almost everything because I'm so open and I don't really, anything that's in my brain kind of comes out. So, yeah, I feel like just asking a question and I will vulnerably and confidently answer.
And mm, what type of impact do you want to leave, on your women audience?
Hmm. That it is powerful to be vulnerable. That's the thing that my mom has told me my whole life. And I don't think that I truly lived it until recently. But it does. It makes you feel like you're taking your power back when you can be open about the things that you've endured.
And how can I, sorry, articulate this? So it's like, what you experienced throughout, the music industry. Is that also like, I guess, maybe a message for, young girls who want to go into the music industry and stuff like that?
1000%. I think young women that want to go into the industry should be cautious for sure. The industry is like the wild, wild west. We don't have regulations and rules and people watching over. We don't have HR. So being honest, there's a lot of predatory behavior in the music industry. So I would say, please, please be careful. Don't be afraid to say no. And also don't take a no personally when it comes to your work because even though it might not work for them, it doesn't mean that it's not going to work in general.
And for our last question, like back on, of course, like mental health and advocating for mental health, what are some things you have done to, like, I guess, help, the community?
I think, first of all, me being open and honest about where I'm at and creating that safe space for people to be open. My song Heavy, I love singing it because the thing that I love the most about music is that I can be vulnerable. So being able to write that song, which was probably my hardest song, one of the two hardest songs I ever had to write, I think that that does something for people. And then finding the spaces wherever I can. I've been speaking to and working with Dee Hirsch. which is an incredible, incredible mental health resource. So yeah, I'm looking forward to working with them more. My goal and my dream is to use this music stuff to be able to open more doors for brown people and black people, and allow more resources for people that don't necessarily have the money or the time, to be able to utilize them.
And I guess, is there anything else you'd like to add for the interview or maybe advice, again?
Um, no, I think I'm good. Let me think. This was a great interview. That's it. You did a great job.
Oh, thank you. Not gonna lie, I was nervous, but thank you.
No, you did great. Those were great questions.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, thank you again for, taking time every day and just joining me on this. Thank you to your manager, Christine, as well, for connecting me with you. Thank you. Yeah.